everyone. It's an honor to stand before you tonight in a sacred space of reflection, resilience, and community. As we gather to break bread tonight, let's also break down the barriers that separate us, barriers of fear, misunderstanding, and injustice. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to thank our ACLU card-holding members. Your membership dues fund the work we do so that we can be principled and firm in rooting out oppression as we never accept government dollars. Please give a round of applause to our card-holding members in the room. Now, I'd like to ask for those in my board of directors to please stand. Our new president, Rick Schneider. Our outgoing president, Marianita Lopez. Kevin Block. Professor Manisha Dasgupta. And Professor Brahim Aude. Thank you each for showing up multiple times a month to enrich our work. Your volunteer hours and steadfast dedication have kept the organization running for decades. We honor your wisdom in the fights for civil rights. Thank you all so much for being on the board. Third, I would like those in my staff to please stand. To my hardworking interim deputy director, Tracy. She might not be in the room because she might be running around. And I'll just ask you all to just stand so people can know you and see you. To my smart legal director, Wookie Kim. To the bright development director, Jana Light. To our policy director, Carrie Ann Shirota, who I don't think could be here with us tonight. To our brilliant senior staff attorney, Emily Hills, who's in the back there with Augie. To our fun-loving policy advocate, Josh Frost. To the talented public education consultant, Nick, in the back. And to our three lovely fellows, Aaron, Emily, and Nathan. Where are you all? Maybe they're manning the door and helping. Oh, Carrie Ann just walked in, by the way. That's Carrie Ann Shirota, everyone, our policy director. Welcome. So I just want to tell to my staff, I see how much you each work day in and day out to preserve the mission of ACLU Hawaii to protect civil liberties contained in the state and federal constitutions. Thank you for your tremendous contributions. Please, again, and there's Tracy. She came in late, but there she is, Tracy, interim deputy director. She was just running around and manning this whole operation tonight. So if you could please give my staff a big, big round of applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Lastly, I would like to welcome to the stage tonight's MC, a comedian, an actor, a justice warrior, and program director of Common Cause Hawaii. Without further ado, please give a warm welcome to the one and only Cameron Hurt.
Just to be clear, I'm not a comedian. God just saves me for the strongest battles. Alhamdulillah. All right, but first and foremost, to kick this night off, I wanted to first bring up anti-IEI. I'm sorry, I said that completely wrong. Bless God. We're going to do that again. Anti-IEI. Did I say that right then? Okay, she's going to say her name right because I'm clearly butchering it. But also that goes into housekeeping for tonight. Our guest will have 4 minutes to speak. And please guess, if I butcher your name, correct me, because your moms gave you guys beautiful names, so we want the world to know. So please welcome Auntie to the stage, who is coming to us as a spiritual consultant, Native Hawaiian artist, cultural practitioner and healer, and the sole practitioner of Ka'alamakulaakea. Shows how you gotta say that right too. But please welcome to the stage, Auntie.
Yeah, I'm gonna chant from down here. It's gonna be too loud on the mic.
Okay.
This is the first one is a welcome chant, and the second one is a chant that Philahi Paki wrote about aloha. And although it was directed initially to the Hawaiian people, it is directed to all people who seek aloha and peace. Wow, no, veula, kuo, kia ali. Oh, lena, ikawaye. Le, ia, ka oku, kalu, nu ao, kiuki. No hoku, uki, kamaka oke ko'olau. Kukua ne pua kaya ulu lalo o lalo hoki wae akna I kahimea iki huna maka huna me haila ikapilio hue vai wow kahalene o hiki mai no oko he mai hele mai e no mako ne a kahai na hoi na kanaka no kahia kulike olu kumana o aku kulana aku nuialana kila aloha mai kanaka o ke aloha no ka mea nui e o mai kanaka na pua na lei al mai kanaka laula kaulana o mai ka lehu ai o io ano ai me ke aloha mai
Thank you so much for starting us off with that chant. Again, welcome you guys to the ACLU's Interfaith event. I'm your host tonight, Cameron Hurd. Most people, if I'm in this space, know me for my social justice advocacy as State Director for Common Cause Hawaii. However, here tonight, I am here as a proud Sufi Muslim. And what this event means to me is something very deep, because you see, I was not born a Muslim. I was covered in prayers and draped in wishes and admirations by women who ended their prayers in Jesus' name, amen. And it was those prayers that guided me to my journey to Islam. See, I grew up in the South, good old Bible Belt, Nashville, Tennessee. Went to a Christian school. I had 90% of the Bible memorized. I was supposed to be a preacher. I was going to be a good one, they told me, from the time I was in 7th grade to 10th grade. When I was in junior year of high school, I started to realize that I was a man in a very unforgiving and sometimes unloving world. And what I could never understand is how so many people profess to know God, the God of Abraham. How is there so much strife? How is there so much angst? How is there so much anger? I rebelled against the people who had been the ones to show me my morality, because I didn't see them walk in it. Now, granted, I was also a knuckleheaded teenager who thought I knew better than everybody, so I felt like I could put people on a pedestal and judge them, something I would later come to humble myself in. As I began to look for answers on how to heal what is inside of you when you're looking for something, I turned to the Bible, and the Bible gave me words of comfort and love, and they told me to keep looking. And so I went to the Torah, and I read that. I used to skip school, true story. I graduated high school at a 1.7 GPA, not proud of it. But when you ask what I was doing, I never skipped school to go do drugs or go chase girls. I was skipping school to go to synagogues, to go to different churches, Coptic churches, Greek Orthodox, Episcopalian. I wanted to know. I need to know. I kept shying away from the masjid. And finally, one of my friends said, if you know you're right, what are you afraid of? Just go. So I went. I walked in, and before I set foot, I said, God, should there be anything that I can learn from this, let me have a heart bold enough to learn. I walked out knowing that I would be reverting to Islam within the near future. But before I did that, I got in my car and I drove 3.5 hours west Tennessee to a small town called Jackson, Tennessee. A town where my ancestors had picked cotton centuries before I was even conceived. A town where my grandmother in her house still set foot. My grandmother, a strong woman in Christ, the best woman I know, the most moral woman I know, I went to and I sought her advice with this conflict that I had. She turned to me and she said, baby, you know the Bible better than me. Trust the Lord, he ain't gonna leave you. And that was her blessing for me to take my shahada and embrace Islam. My grandmother is no longer with us, but my grandmother died professing Jesus Christ as her Savior. And you see, I'm here again as a proud Sufi Muslim to tell you that I know that my grandmother basked in the glory of paradise as a proud Christian woman. That's what this event is here tonight about, interfaith. That is the moment that we find ourselves in this country of being separated based on a status, be it immigration. We know that as Muslims that nationalisms and nation borders have no foundation and a mandate from God, as we are told to hold fast, all of you, to the rope of Allah and do not become divided. My dad's a proud serviceman of this nation. My family's been in this nation since the 1600s. I love this nation. But I will not let the colors of red, white, and blue divide me from my humanity. I will not let my pride in my own nation ever separate me from helping and doing fellow good for my man for no other reason other than they needed, and praise God that I am able. That is the message that I leave you here tonight. Don't be divided on artificial borders, on current politics, on moments in time. Stand true with each other. Thank you, guys. All right, and as I said, 4 minutes, y'all. 4 minutes. We coming in, we coming out, all right? Up next, we have Reverend Hasabi, who is going to come up and give us a words originally from the Toyama Prefecture in Japan. The Reverend has been Chief Minister for Hawaii's Boston since 2023. Please welcome the Reverend to the stage.
Good evening. I'm Yuika Hasebe. I am a Chief Minister of Hawaii Vets Inn, and it is our pleasure to welcome ACLU and all of you here tonight. Tonight, we gather here to share and listen the story about the immigrant. I am an immigrant who moved from Japan 18 years ago. My first year was the most challenging. I remember I cried almost every night. But with the support of the Buddha Dharma, my temple community, and the countless kind people in this community, I have made it to my 18th year in Hawaii. I deeply appreciate my everyday life here. and I often reflect on the support I received. In gratitude, I hope to give it back, even just a little, to the people, and especially community that welcomed me. People like me, who immigrants more recently, are called Shin Isse. Isse means first generation, and Shin means new. So Shin Isse refers to the new first immigrant. The existence of Shin Isse reminds us of the original Isse, the first Japanese immigrants to Hawaii. They are not only the ancestor of the second, third, or fourth generations of Japanese American here, but in a way, they're also my ancestors, as we were born on the same land. The first Isse arrived in Hawaii during the Meiji era, and many Japanese people immigrated here in the years that followed. They endured immense hardship, especially in the harsh condition of the plantation. Yet they were also supported by many who helped them along the way. I have learned that plantation life was extremely hard with horrific working conditions. However, I have also been told that different racial and ethnic groups lived together, forming a large ohana. They borrowed the words from each other's language. Their children played and grew up together, and they supported one another, lending a helping hand whenever needed. They respected each other's culture and found common ground. In May, with the support of Mary Foster, Queen Liliuokalani visited our temple, offering her grace to the Japanese immigrants on Buddhism. This moment in history symbolizes the spirit of acceptance and unity that defines Hawaii. People come and go. Some seek a new place to find meaning in life, while others leave to search for it elsewhere. There are always challenges, but Hawaii has a long history of people living together in harmony. The people here understand the value of respect and acceptance because that is how this community was built. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, Reverend. Next up, we have the Executive Director and Chief Executive Officer of the American Civil Liberties Union of Hawaii. Please give it up for Ms. Salma. Oh, I'm sorry, Salma Ms. B, I'm sorry.
Aloha and salamu alaikum. In 1942, a sweet baby boy was born and raised by a single mother in a shanty town on the Lahore's outskirts. He lived through the Great Partition of India-Pakistan, in which nearly 2 million people died and 15 million people were displaced. As a result of the British divide and conquer tactics, the little boy's clan of Shia Muslims were constantly brutalized by a Sunni majority. Years later, with 2 suitcases and $8 in his pocket, he migrated to America in hopes for greater prosperity. In America, he met a beautiful woman from Guyana who too had suffered. Born in 1952, she survived Guyana's race wars. As a little girl, she recalls being rushed into a secret compartment of a pickup truck, escaping the countryside as an Indo-Guyanese woman in the city center, and those women, like her kin, were being raped, pillaged, and looted due to racial violence. The little boy and little girl fell in love, became naturalized citizens, and had 4 children, the youngest of which stands before you today as the executive director of the ACLU-HI. This is not just my family's story. It is the story of millions who cross borders seeking safety and dignity every day. We are all survivors of a unique history. We are all products of migration in a way. And we are beyond fortunate to have landed on the islands of Hawaii, which have been stewarded for generations by indigenous caretakers, Native Hawaiians. Migration is not a political issue. It is a human truth. Each of us is here because our forefathers and our foremothers persevered to create precise conditions for our existence. Their resilience is the common denominator of all of our existences. Not one of us exists separate or apart from one another. For a lack of a better summation, we are one human family bound together by the same forces of history, migration, and struggle. And when one part of our humanity is suffering, all of humanity feels it. Whether you acknowledge it or not, we are all suffering in this moment, watching a democratic state turn into oligarchy before our eyes, feeling helpless and shocked. While our empathetic reflex can be destabilizing in moments of darkness, that same empathy can be used to turn towards light to propel movements forward. Because while injustice may shape the moment, justice is what defines the movement. And the ACLU of Hawaii, we are working together tirelessly to build movements that will help push back against the growing tide of authoritarianism. And while each of us is trying to survive in Hawaii, those being harmed most right now are our immigrant neighbors. Their families are being broken apart, they are losing jobs, and ICE is continuing to engage in warrantless raids of businesses and homes with cruelty never seen before. Even asylum seekers, people who will likely be killed if they return to their origin countries, are too being deported unfairly, sent to their deathbeds without an opportunity to be heard. In fact, 83% of immigrants are deported without receiving a hearing before a judge. The ACLU of Hawaii is committed to responding to such injustices of our time by 1, advancing impact litigation that will fortify constitutional rights afforded to all immigrants, 2, supporting policy initiatives aimed at strengthening state barriers to federal encroachment, and 3, enhancing public education to change the narrative. Immigrants are not criminals. They are not threats. They are the very heart of our communities, bringing with them culture, perspectives, and knowledge that enrich all of us. And yet, our government spends $1.84 billion a year to detain them. You must know that our tax dollars are funding cruelty rather than compassion. As civic participants in a system of governance, we have to ask ourselves, if no migration story is free from hardship, if all of us are connected by the human struggle to survive, then why do we allow our government to villainize the most vulnerable among us? So tonight, let us reimagine what is possible. A world where borders do not define belonging, a place where no child goes to bed fearing deportation, and a city where every person, no matter where they were born, is treated with dignity and respect. The ACLU of Hawaii fights for this imagination. Join our fight. Enjoy the evening. Mahalo.
Next up, originally from Pohnpei, Micronesia, we have Rondi Hardson. Currently studies math at the University of Hawaii at Manoa and fashion at Honolulu Community College. Everybody please give it up for Rondi.
Hello everyone. My name is Rondi. I'm a student at UH and HCC. I come from a small island in the middle of the Pacific called Pohnpei, which is part of the Federated States of Micronesia. My journey to where I am today began when my mother made the courageous decision to leave our island with little to no English with my younger brother and me to the United States. She wanted to give my siblings and me a better education and opportunities, even if it meant stepping into the unknown growing up. Growing up, she always preached about love and forgiveness, and these values weren't just words, she lived by them. Back home in Pohnpei, love and forgiveness aren't just personal values. They are woven into our culture and traditions. When conflict arises, our people have a way of restoring peace that is very different from the legal system here in the US. For example, if two children get into a fight and one is injured, the family of the child who started the fight takes responsibility. They gather their relatives and go to the other family's home, bringing food, drinks, and sakau, or what is known here in Hawaii as kava. In a powerful act of humility, they offer a cup of sakau asking for forgiveness. When the other family accepts, the conflict is put aside, and from that moment, the two families become one as they share a feast and drink sakau together. Comparing this to the way justice is handled in the US, when someone commits a crime, the system focuses on the punishment rather than healing. The US spends billions of dollars each year incarcerating people, keeping them locked up and feeding them, often without addressing the root causes of their actions. Many people who serve time don't come out better, they often come out worse. Instead of reintegration and reconciliation, the system creates a cycle where people are often trapped for life. But if there are better alternatives around the world, there are justice systems that focus on restoration rather than punishment. Restorative justice, for example, is based on the idea that when harm is done, healing should follow. Instead of simply locking people away, restorative justice brings together victims, offenders, and the community to find ways to repair the harm. This approach reduces repeat offenses, costs less, and strengthens communities. I believe there's a lesson to be learned from my culture and so many others' way of handling conflict. When people choose forgiveness and healing over pure punishment, we don't resolve problems. We prevent them from happening again. We create a society that is based not on division and isolation, but on understanding and unity. At the end of the day, we are all one family no matter where we come from, what language we speak, or what paths we take in life. We are connected. And if we choose to approach justice with love and forgiveness, we can build something greater than ourselves, a world that isn't just about punishing mistakes, but about healing and transforming lives. That is my message today, to love and forgive, because when we do, we don't just change individuals, we change society for the better. Thank you.
All right. Oh, really quick housekeeping note. For any of the brothers and sisters, if you need to step out and pray, they're over to my left, your right, outside to set up a prayer area for you. So if you need to make salah, there is an area for you to do that. Next up to the stage, we have Professor Monisha Dasgupta, who holds a joint appointment as professor in the Departments of Ethnic Studies and Gender and Sexuality Studies at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. Please give it up for Professor Gupta.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you, ACLU, for organizing this story sharing and for bringing together some of the most principled people that I know in this community together. I'm a first-generation immigrant, and I came to the United States in 1991 as a student. Soon after I came here, I realized that I was encountering a lot of racist and xenophobic institutions. And I was very fortunate to have met several radical South Asian progressive women, and we formed South Asian Women in Action. We started to address the very many unmet needs of women in our communities. Together, we realized that we could really make changes in policy. So, that very early experience convinced me that the kinds of immigrant stories that I wanted to tell and circulate, both as a person involved in the community and as a scholar, were our stories as social change agents in social justice movements. So I feel like these stories are not as told as widely, and we need to sort of recognize the ways in which we have been part of policy changes, and also, this is part of our achievement in this country. And as immigrants, we have really staunchly refused to accept the many forms of state-approved, state-sponsored violence, such as racism, imperialism, gender-based violence, and constant scapegoating of migrants. And we have built very inventively a very dense web of social justice organizations through which we enact very bold visions of the world we want to imagine, as you said. Today I shared 2 short stories. In the early 1990s, my cousin was in an abusive marriage, and at that time, because of law, she was dependent on her husband to petition for her and her daughter's legal permanent residency. In 1994, as a result of tireless consciousness raising and advocacy by us immigrant women, we were able to get the Violence Against Women Act passed. My cousin was one of the first beneficiaries of that act, and the law allowed her to petition for herself and my niece and leave that abusive relationship. Of course, Joe Biden likes to take credit for the Violence Against Women Act, but it was really us, immigrant women, who did that. The other example is the innovative and courageous campaigns that are led by undocumented youth, and they started in 2010. They were one of the most fearless voices, and they refused to be silenced or pushed back in the shadows, and as a result, they took a lot of personal risk. They taught us to tell really complex immigrant stories, stories that didn't rely on the usual ways in which we talk about immigrants, where we talk about the good immigrant who's deserving and the bad immigrant who is deportable. And, one of the signature wins of that group of people was the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA. And here in Hawaii, we have, under the mentorship of people like Kevin Block and Amy Agbayani, youth across the islands, they got together and they managed to put in place an in-state tuition policy for undocumented students at our university throughout the system. So these are huge wins. Of course, here in Hawaii, we have a long tradition of immigrants organizing for social justice, as the Reverend pointed out. And many of the protections and social welfare programs that we have today is because of that legacy of struggle. Recently, I have been dwelling on the words of Eileen Toshiko Fujimoto, and I read about her words in this little book that has been written by Amari Matsuda, who is a legal scholar and an artist. Eileen was a very active member of the ILWU in Oahu, and she was the only woman among the 7 who were prosecuted and then sentenced under the Smith Act for conspiracy to overthrow the government. At her sentencing in 1953, Eileen Fujimoto said that their conviction by the court as people who was conspiring to overthrow the government violently was designed to put fear in the hearts of those who want to speak out against injustice and the rights of the common people of Hawaii. I want to invoke these words in order to inspire us at this moment when Trump tries to terrify us with a volley of executive orders aimed at silencing us and wresting compliance, but we will not do that. And I'm so happy to see all of you here in this space and to share this space with you. Mahalo.
Thank you for that. Next up, we have Professor ACLU-HI. He is the chair of the Department of Indo-Pacific Languages and Literatures of the University of Hawaii and an award-winning researcher and scholar. Please welcome Professor to the stage. And he's going to correctly say his last name right. Thank you, Professor.
I would say this is a reunion. I always see you. Okay, anyway, and then I have the brother out there who is the husband of the president of ACLU. I timed myself. It's gonna be 3 minutes, okay? I was afraid, okay. Thank you for being with you this evening of breaking your fasts. American Civil Liberties Union of Hawaii, you honor me so in inviting me to this august body of kindred spirits, people who understand that immigrant life anywhere is not easy. I came to this country not long after 9/11, and I sensed and saw what it means to live in fear. I came from a dictatorship in the Philippines that continued only two languages in the public life of the people. And I know what it means to lose your language, the language of your community and people. The MC said I chair the Department of Indo-Pacific Languages and Literatures of the university, but I say this is the Department of Colonized Peoples, as it is. And so my challenge is how to turn this department around, given all the problems that we have every day. You do not understand what I feel and how I feel every day. Should I now be losing 17 of my programs and 32 of my faculty? I do not know. My task today is to argue with you that language is important. And this department had put together this idea of the importance of language and cultures since 1960. That's more than 60 years ago. Meaning to say, this university had that vision. And today, that vision is going to be expunged if you're not going to be away. Now, the department covers around 50 countries in 1,200 languages and therefore ethno-linguistic groups. That is our task in my department. The fact of the matter in Hawaii is that 25% of our people speak another language aside from English. This is how we are here. 25%, one of every 4 persons in Hawaii. If we look at language as our cultural capital and resource, we will never go wrong. We will do the right thing. I say now that language is community. It is not a tool. Language is people. That is all that we need to remember. Somewhere in this country, they talk about the Latin e pluribus unum. I'm afraid we are not honoring this motto, e pluribus unum, many, but we are one. If you follow the letter and the spirit and the substance of this motto, we will never go long. The idea that Hawaii is a melting pot should be flipped. It is not a pot, and it is not melting. What we have got is a solid bowl. We've got to retain that every one of us in the solid bowl is still community, still people, is still us, it is still language, still culture. We offer a variety of languages in my department, including Arabic. And what I want to do is I will grow this Arabic language and culture while I'm at it, while I am the chair. I don't want the Arabic language to be taught only. I want everything Arabic to be taught in this university. I'm gonna fight for this. Because the Arabic language is in fact part of the 50 countries of my department, whether there are people of the Middle East or people of the Southeast Asian part of our community. There's so much to be done in my department. Now, I do not understand why I came to your America to lead a department of colonized languages, peoples, communities, and cultures. Good evening to all of you.
Next up, we have a Palestinian migrant living in Hawaii and Professor Emeritus of Ethnic Studies at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. Everybody please give a warm round of applause for Professor Ibrahim.
Aloha kako. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm Palestinian. My family fled Palestine in 1948, went to Lebanon, took refuge from the ethnic cleansing of Palestine by Zionist gangs. Later on, they established what is called Israel, and what I call the Zionist entity in Palestine because of the ethnic cleansing that created that kind of entity. That is a clear thing for me, and that what has defined my existence since that time. I grew up in Lebanon, and then I decided to immigrate, so I ended up here. Okay. You can hear me, right? Yeah. I can scream, but no. So I ended up here and made a go of it, and now I am Emeritus Professor of Ethnic Studies. I'm still active in terms of Palestinian issues, especially when we have the genocide that's happened in Gaza until the ceasefire. And I said, oh, thank you, God, that the genocide has ended, and then we can go for negotiations. However, my friend from Lebanon, I contact the Arab world a lot on a daily basis. So my friend in Lebanon said, no, they started bombing again, today. So I opened up on Arabic channels, news channels, and there you go. Netanyahu broke the ceasefire, and the White House said that actually the Israelis have consulted us before they started the new genocide after the ceasefire, which was just today. Today here, yesterday over there. Okay, so why I say all of this? It is because of what the reflections of the genocide on American politics. And if it is a reflection on American politics, therefore, it is a reflection on the lives of each and every one of us here. Is it life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness? Is it only for the white guys or for those guys who are Christian and not Muslim? Is it of the good Muslim, the bad Muslim? And then if it is the good Muslim, the bad Muslim, it will be the good Christian, the bad Christian. The Christian Zionists would be the good Christians. And the other people, people of faith, whether I Catholic or Presbyterian or what have you, they would be the bad Muslims because they do not support genocide and bombing of people, children, etc. You know about all of this, so I'm not going to tell you much more about that, except to say that now many Palestinians, green card holders, etc., are being put in jail. Universities have revoked degrees of, the last one was 22 students, their degrees, or they kicked them out so they couldn't get their degrees. So that really reflects on us here in Hawaii at the University of Hawaii. The University of Hawaii, and I'm gonna say it just like that, we have a new president, last name Hensel, and she is like moving beyond Trump in terms of putting the screws on people, students, faculty, and especially students who are, with a green card or just foreign students. And that is very bad situation here that we, if we believe in the First Amendment and so forth, and true to the notion of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, we have to be fighting those kinds of things. Not only against those things happening against Palestinians, but against each and every one. So we have all kinds of minorities here, whether religious minorities, ethnic minorities, etc. We should all come together to say to the powers that be that the policies that they have been conducting so far are those that divide people, not bring them together. And if you want to bring together and have a safe, prosperous society, that society has to be the least of us is better than the best of us, or on equal terms than as the best of us. Otherwise, we would go downhill and we would have then a long way to slide. And that we should not be doing. We should fight those kinds of policies, etc., whether through immigration policies or whatever kinds of policies. Taxes, anything that is not good. Privatization of the Social Security. 1.7, I'll give you this as an example, $1.7 trillion, they want to privatize Social Security so that the guys who buy it, friends of Trump or whoever, would have the $1.7 trillion, and we would have problems going to the doctor or having like a pension for Social Security. So thank you all for coming here, being here, supporting ACLU. And as a board member, I promise to continue doing that which I have been doing. And what I have been doing is try to support and protect the First Amendment and the Bill of Rights. Mahalo nui loa.
Thank you. Next up, we have Stephanie Haro Savila, is a postgraduate fellow at the University of Hawaii at Manoa William Richard School of Law, a refugee and immigration law clinic, and a former Dreamer and DACA recipient. Please welcome Stephanie to the stage.
Hi everyone, my name is Stephanie. When I was 7 years old, I found out I was undocumented. I will never forget that moment. I would watch people on TV spewing hatred towards people like me. I was just a child. I yelled at the TV, telling myself that I was not a criminal, I was not evil, and I would not ruin the United States. But the fear echoed through me and left a lasting impact. I stopped speaking Spanish for a while. I begged for blonde hair, anything to fit in and avoid being seen as an immigrant. I was scared for my family. Could they be taken away at any moment? I would sadly learn that they could, and we would be separated for decades. It took years before I could fully accept my true self. In 2011, then President Obama announced DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. It was an opportunity for youth like me. I wouldn't qualify for DACA until 3 years later, but the doors and opportunities it opened shaped me into the person that I am today. For the first time, I could get my driver's license, work, and college felt like a real possibility. I was a dreamer, as they call us. I watched my parents, aunts, uncles, and grandparents work tirelessly to give us a chance to succeed, and I knew I had to take it. I entered law school with the goal of studying immigration law. Little did I know I would fall deeply in love with advocating for families and immigrants just like me. I began speaking out about my status despite the hate that often came my way. In 2023, I graduated from law school, became a U.S. citizen, and passed the bar exam. Achieving my dream of becoming an immigration attorney. But the fear I carried since I was 7 didn't just vanish. I carry it with me every day. Every time I hear the news dehumanizing immigrants, calling them criminals, or demanding their deportation, I think of that 7-year-old version of me. I think of the fear in my family's eyes, and I wonder how many other families have felt the same. The truth is, immigrants are not criminals. We are resilient. We nurture and build the next generation despite the uncertainty surrounding our very own futures. Immigrants are the embodiment of strength, love, intelligence, honor, and hope. The obstacles my family and other families have faced, the risks we've taken, are unimaginable to many. My family gave up everything they knew to start over in the United States. For us, it's not a game. It's a matter of survival. It's a last effort to avoid death. Immigrants are the fabric of this country built on the backs of those who came before us. Now I have my dream job, but I won't lie. It's not easy. When I hear the cries and see the fears in these communities, I am reminded of the fear I once carried as a child. But this time, I won't give in. I won't stop fighting, and I will continue to stand up for communities and dispel the hateful rhetoric that surrounds us. I'll share the true story of immigrants, a story of resilience, courage, and unbreakable support. Our stories have power. That is why they often try to silence us. Don't let them. I may be a U.S. citizen now, but I will forever be a dreamer, and I will forever be an immigrant. That is my greatest attribute and the thing I love the most about myself, and the reason why I will keep fighting for immigrant communities. The strength of this country lies in the diversity and the contributions of all those who call it home, regardless of where they came from. Thank you.
Next up, we have Mr. Kevin J. Block, who is a dedicated, experienced, and passionate immigration attorney in Maui, the founder of Maui Immigration Law, LLC, and a board member for the ACLU of Hawaii. Please give it up for Mr. Block.
Aloha. Welcome, everybody. It's such an honor to be here with you and with my amazing fellow speakers. My name is Kevin Block. I've had the privilege of practicing immigration law here in Hawaii for over a decade, specializing in family cases and asylum. As you can imagine, I have a bank of harrowing, inspiring, shattering, amazing stories of these cases, in particular the asylum cases, those epic journeys to reach safety. But today I'm going to tell a personal story rather than a professional one, a story about family, adoption, and immigration. My mother was an immigrant. She was born in Germany in 1928 and lived in Munich as a teenager during World War II, when towards the end there were nightly bombing raids. After the war, because of the poverty and devastation, she and her family emigrated to the United States in 1952. My mother learned English, went to school, and became a nurse, and married my father, who was becoming a doctor. In 1965, they adopted me. Although I was adopted, the bond I had with my mother was as strong and real as any mother and son relationship. Towards the end of her life, after she had had a stroke, I would sometimes go to visit her in the hospital at odd hours, prompted by a sudden urge to see her. When I would arrive at her room, she would say, "Ah, there you are. I've been calling you." By that time, she had lost the ability to use her phone. What she meant was that she had been calling out my name. My son is also an immigrant. The first time I met him was in an emergency meeting at Lahaina Luna High School. I had been contacted by a group of concerned parents to see if I could help this kid who was probably undocumented and probably homeless. He was skinny and his leg bounced nervously when he looked at me with his big, beautiful brown eyes. I heard God whisper to me, "Get involved." But my head countered, "But professionalism, but boundaries." And again I heard, "Get involved." His backstory, born in Chihuahua, Mexico, his dad was abusive, so his mom fled with Cesar and his four older brothers. She died when he was 12 and he was sent to an orphanage in Tijuana. Him and his older brother escaped by climbing the walls. They walked across the border, across the desert at night. They made it to Hawaii in search of jobs. Then his older brother was deported, so when I met Cesar, he was alone, sleeping in an abandoned car at Honokowai Beach Park. At first, I was his lawyer, applying for an immigration benefit called Special Immigrant Juvenile. He needed to be in a foster placement, and the first 2 attempts failed because he was difficult, having lived on the streets. I brought him to my house and introduced him to Mark, my husband. I was worried about his macho upbringing and how he would react to our different family, but it literally took him about 1 minute to reconcile it in his head. And my husband is a chef, which helped, because this skinny kid could eat. Time is short, so I'm going to hit the highlights. We became his foster dads. I got him a green card. We went through the parents of a teenager thing. His first love, his first heartbreak, learning to drive a stick shift, senior project, arguing about cleaning his room, him getting caught at school for smoking pot, and me fighting all the way to the top of the DOE to get him to walk in graduation. Caesar became a citizen during COVID. This country is better because he's in it. Cesar taught me how to be a dad. He taught me about integrity, honesty, loyalty, true resilience, and civility. Cesar is 100% all in on our choice to be a family. Sometimes I joke with him, "I didn't change your diapers, but you'll probably have to change mine." In other words, he'll be with me until the end. Last week, Cesar texted me, "Apa, gracias por todo, eres el chingón, te quiero mucho," which means, "Dad, thank you for everything. You're the best. I love you." Apa is a Spanish colloquial word for dad, which signifies the bond of familiarity and of love. During this perilous time, I get strength in thinking about the connections and intersections between adoption and immigration, both figuring so heavily in my life. I think about the deeply embedded Kanaka principle of adoption, or hanai, the making of a family through the bonds of love, the integration of the stranger or the estranged into the fold. I think about the cultural wisdom of the gay community that have for generations created families through connections that we choose and define so that we hold each other together in a world that wants to tear us apart. Thank you for allowing me to share and to be a part of your celebration.
Next up, we have Nelson John T. Salvador has dedicated much of his life to nonprofit work and has continued his service-driven life by joining the Hawaii's Workers Center in 2023 as an organizer for low-income Filipino workers. Please welcome to the stage, Mr. Salvador.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to be a part of this evening. My name is Nelson Salvador, currently the Director of Organizing for Hawaii Workers Center, but prior to my stint at Hawaii Workers Center, I was an activist back home in the Philippines. I arrived in Hawaii in November 2020. At the height of the pandemic, a short window of time opened for me to come to Hawaii than to travel. At that time, along with the problems of the COVID, I was facing effects of the problem we call back home red tagging. This is the time of President Rodrigo Duterte. For some of you might have read, he is now facing cases against humanity at the ICC. It was a simple decision to make, leaving behind my loved ones and venture into unknown territory is a bit scary. But it was a push from my children that I should leave a bit. My youngest kept harping to me, please get out of the country because I don't want to be fully orphaned by the Philippine military. This is because my wife, their mother, who was also a non-profit worker like me, was killed and murdered by the Philippine Army. On the 6th of September in 2014, I received a call from human rights organization that my wife's lifeless body was found in a funeral parlor. This devastated us, especially our youngest, who was 12 years old then. The Philippine Army accused my wife to be part of the rebel group, but the autopsy result pointed out to torture, including a big part of her skull broken into pieces, which makes my family believe that she was captured, tortured, and summarily executed. I was fortunate to have come to know some human rights activists who are living in Hawaii. The Hawaii Committee on Human Rights in the Philippines have helped me navigate the situation that I am in. Fast track, I'm now working as an organizer at Hawaii Workers Center. There I am encountering Filipino migrants and immigrants in Hawaii who are made victims of wage theft, trafficking, and other workplace problems like the situations of the Filipino fishermen docked at the pier who cannot even get out of their boats and in the pier. Like the situation of the migrants and immigrants in Lahaina who was affected by the wildfire in 2023. We at Hawaii Workers Center have tried our best to help. We have won some wage theft. We have helped people according to our capacities. But our model is that we hope that we could actually help people through organizing them and doing a collective power to ease their burdens. So whatever reason of moving from one situation to another, getting out of the danger zone always brings in it inherent instinct for human to cling to hope. Hope that the space you are going will offer a possibility of starting anew. Hope that would usher in new reasons why one will continue to fight, and hope that one may again be able to dream for a better society. The activist in me led me to Hawaii Workers Center, where I found my old self in helping workers find the collective power to face the life challenges in a country we can temporarily call a home. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that. All right, we're down to our last last two guys, almost there. We have Miss Jenna Light coming to us from the ACLU Development Director. She will be giving us a nice, good call to action. You guys, give it up for her. Give it up.
Aloha mai kako. I just want to thank everyone for being here. First to our speakers, for sharing your stories with us. These are incredibly meaningful. It's why we do what we do. And we're so grateful that you're willing to share some of these very personal and meaningful and difficult things with us. I want to thank everyone else for being here and to bear witness to these stories, and for donating your time and your energy to helping the ACLU do exactly what Salma mentioned, which is help reframe the narrative, get some public education into the community about how we can better understand the value that different communities bring to Hawaii, and for tonight, of course, that's our immigrant communities. The mission of the ACLU is to defend, protect, and fight for the civil rights of everyone in this country. And often that's most needed for communities that are misunderstood or maligned, and right now, as we're seeing in Washington, targeted and experiencing harms from the injustices in our system. And we are watching right now to see what is happening in Washington and to see how that is going to affect the people of Hawaii. And really what we need to do, we've realized, is we need to grow our capacity to respond and to meet this moment and to meet the needs, in particular of our immigrant communities. And so we are looking to bring on more legal expertise. We're going to rely on Kevin to help us figure out what we need to do. But we really do need the support of everyone who is able to donate and to become a member to help us grow that capacity. Because what we're trying to do is shape the systems so that our systems in Hawaii and across the nation are ones that recognize, acknowledge, and honor the humanity of everyone in this country and everyone in the state of Hawaii. So today, I would like to invite you to, if you're not a member, to become a member. We have envelopes out in the front, and I will be around if you have any questions. And of course, if you'd like to make a tax-deductible donation, please come and talk to me. There's ways to make a really meaningful impact with your philanthropy and your wealth and your time and your energy and your expertise. So thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Salma, for letting me have a few minutes and for celebrating our immigrant communities and helping us reimagine how we as a Hawaii community can embrace them and tell their stories. Mahalo.
And last up, we have Masega Jali, is a Hapa Iranian-American teacher, artist, community organizer, who has known Oahu as home, not homeland, for the past 10,088 days. Please welcome Masega.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and aloha. Can we have another round of applause for our speakers, please? I was asked to give the closing prayer for our event tonight, and I have to kind of preface it because it's very personal to me. Usually I would pick a prayer that's very general and, encompasses everyone and everyone's experiences. But this one just hit me so much in my heart that I was like, this is it. This is what I gotta go with, and they're gonna connect with it. It gets radical. Wait for it. We'll get there. It's 3 lines. Oh God, I beseech you to grant us the welfare of this place and to protect us. This is a prayer for a traveler, and this is what they say before they enter a town. I'm an immigrant. I came here when I was 13, and they told me the truth about coming here. They told me I'm coming to visit my dad, which I barely knew, and they left out the 99% of the truth that I would be living here. Even if they told me, which I'm pretty sure they didn't, the 13-year-old in me did not remember. And that's something I know very well because I teach 11, 12, and 13-year-olds. This prayer is something I would give my 13-year-old self before he came here. Oh God, I beseech you to grant us the welfare of this place and to protect us. That's not radical, right? Here is where it gets radical. Oh God, cause us to be beloved to them. And the word for beloved in Arabic, as some of you know, this word is derived from hub. In the Arabic language, the word, this particular kind of love, encompasses the entire sound that the Arabic language can make. Ha and ba, all the way down in your throat and all the way in the front of your mouth. The entire scope. Cause us to be beloved to them, and cause its righteous inhabitants to be beloved to us. If you want to know who the righteous are, look around the room. There are a lot of people here who stand up for good, who stand up for justice, what's right. And I believe at the end of the day, if we love each other and if we're loved, we're always at home. And we're all part of a bigger family. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Masi. That concludes the program portion of tonight's event. And I would ask if I can get all of my staff to please come to the front for a quick staff photo. And everyone else, if you are praying, Maghrib has been called and the lounge is open for people who need to pray right now. And if you want to go break your fast directly, the social hall is open. So thank you so much for listening to these stories tonight. And I wish you a beautiful meal and more chatter amongst yourself and with community. Thank you. Mahalo.